Okay, we are going to talk today about the prayers of Yom Kippur. In Siman Tafresh Yutet, chapter 619 in the tool, we read the following: Arvit, נכנסים לבית הכנסת, ונוהגים באשכנז, שקודם שהתפללו, מתירים לכל העבריינים, כדי להתפלל עמהם, ואפילו אם לא יבקשו שיתירו להם. So, he writes, the custom is to, in Germany, in Ashkenaz, that before the prayer, you say we allow all the sinners to pray with us, even if those sinners are not asking for this kind of permission. What is this? This is what we say today. על דעת המקום ברוך הוא ועל דעת הקהל אנחנו מתירים להתפלל את העבריינים. That considering like we believe that we have the approval of God, of the human court, of the divine court, that we have the approval that we are allowed to pray with the sinners, or that we allow the sinners to pray. In Hebrew, להתפלל את העבריינים can be understood in two different ways, either with them or we allow them to pray. That's not Kol Nidre, it's a different thing. Kol Nidre and מתירים להתפלל את העבריינים are two separate pieces. The first one is the nullification of vows, we'll talk about it in a second, and להתפלל את העבריינים is that we allow people who are sinners to pray. So today, when we read it in the synagogue, most people think that it has to still do with Atarat Nedarim, or they think, I believe most people think that it's not about them. I allow the guy next to me to pray with me. I accept him. But what are the sins that we're thinking of? To each his own considerations. But when they said that, they had a very clear concept in mind. They were not talking about Shabbat or Kashrut, or not coming to the synagogue, or not putting tefillin, or anything like that. No, they were talking about people that would have something that would have a problem that would prevent them from praying with the community. He quotes the Mordechai, one of the disciples of his father Rabbeinu Asher, מתירים חרם להתפלל עם כל איש שעבר על גזירת הקהל. כל איש שעבר על גזירת הקהל. That was very common in the post-Talmudic communities, especially in Germany, but later on in Spain as well. There was something called takanat הקהל, a decree by the community that was specific to each town and to each city and to each community. Usually one city, one community. You didn't have two communities in a city because they were not that big. So there were certain takanot that were specific to this town, and the idea was that if someone does not abide by that takana, by that decree, he is under herem. He would be excommunicated. So now, as someone who is excommunicated, he cannot pray with the community. If, God forbid, he lost a relative, they don't go to sit shiva with him, and so on and so forth. And that was very common. Was that common that there's a teshuvah by Rabbi Shimon ben Tzemach Durano, the Rivash, Rabbi Yitzhak bar Sheshat, who was expelled from Spain to Algeria in the 1300s. The question is about a rabbi who used to put people in harem. He used to excommunicate people for whatever reason. He says, you disrespect me, you disrespect the synagogue, you're under harem. Now, and the community didn't know what to do. The people didn't know what to do because they felt, on one hand, because of those regulations, the rabbi has the power to institute an excommunication, and the community supports the rabbi's actions, so that person should be under harem, should be excommunicated. On the other hand, they felt that the rabbi was abusing his authority and even picking fights with people. This is, when you think that it's new, it's like 700 years ago. Same thing that happens everywhere. And the answer of the Rivash was that although usually the community should support the harem when it's instituted by the rabbi, in this case, because he's a cantankerous person and he's instigating the people to start and to get into some kind of a fight with him, they could decide that this will be invalid. But what it shows us that the community had power in creating rules and legislations, and it was important to maintain the integrity of the community. So even if it's not something that's biblical or rabbinical, let's say they made a takana, and which is it's another thing that we have, that merchants who come from outside the city will not be allowed to sell their merchandise in the city except for market days, but not during the week, right? So someone who transgressed that would be excommunicated. Or let's say today, someone who refuses to give his wife a get, a divorce, he could be put under harem in Israel. Not very effective. So will come when it's not very effective. There's one guy who's sitting in jail for 2 decades now, almost. He doesn't in jail, and he doesn't want to give his wife a get. So in any case,
Rabbanut cannot do nothing about it.
they can. No. They can. But they don't. I mean, there is a solution. But that's another issue. I want to get into that.
The wedding, no.
Not some other time. The point is that when Erev Kippur comes, they felt that we don't want to have people left out of the community. Let's bring everybody in. So that's why they say Anu matirim litparet avarianim. Not that the harem would be completely lifted, but it's lifted for Kippur so everybody can pray together. So, in a way, also to provide that person a possibility to do teshuvah. But beyond that, they quote a statement in the Talmud, Amar Rabbi Shimon Hasidah, Kol ta'anit she'en bo miposh'ai Yisrael eno ta'anit. It's an amazing statement. If you have a public fast day, and it is only attended by the observant people, by those who have never sinned, that's not called a fast day. That's just another religious ritual. Interesting. And what is his proof? It's interesting proof. Among the ingredients of the frankincense, the incense that was brought in the temple, right? We read all of them. They say that one of them was called the halbena, did not smell good, it had bad odor. But when you put them all together, it creates a good fragrance. So this is a proof, of course symbolic, that you have to have the community together. And this is true because with the problem that we have in general, and we have division in the communities because people label each other, how observant they are, based on external features of things that they can see and measure and quantify, but nobody knows who a person really is. And there's a benefit and advantage of having diversity in the community. This way, people learn from each other. ואומרים בזה הלשון, so what is the text for that? בישיבה של מעלה ובישיבה של מטה, על דעת המקום ועל דעת המקום ברוך הוא, אנו מתירים את העבריינים, ומוציא שליח ציבור ספר תורה ואוחזה בחיקו, and the cantor takes out the Sefer Torah and holds it, ואומר Kol Nidre ve'esarei. So let's do on this line. The cantor, who represented the community, takes out the Sefer Torah and holds it. One Sefer Torah, no auctions. No, this is not, we'll not consider something that later on it evolved, because this is like the opening moment of Yom Kippur. It evolved into the most important moment, and that was the opportunity now to have speeches and fundraisers and auctions and all that. And in most Sephardic communities, 7 Sepharim are being taken out. In other places, all the Sepharim in the Echal are being taken out. But back then, only the cantor would take one Sefer Torah out and would hold it.
Would they have more than one?
They had more than one. They had to have at least two. And sometimes 3, because you have situations when you need 3 Sefer Torah. But they had more than one Sefer Torah.
Hanukkah sometimes 3.
Either on Hanukkah or on Simchat Torah, you have 3 Sefarim. Those are the 2 occasions when you have 3 Sefer Torah. And an interesting development in the recent generations, because the mitzvah is sold for a lot of money, it was very common in some synagogues that the person who bought the mitzvah would be a person who only comes to shul once a year. And because he came once a year, it was someone who would fast on Kippur, but would not be concerned about wearing leather shoes. And so, since wearing leather shoes is one of the prohibitions of Kippur, the rabbis in some communities said, we have a problem, we can't let that person hold the Sefer Torah and say the Baracha. So, they transferred the blessing and the reading from the one who holds the Sefer Torah to the Hazan or the rabbi. Now, it's a problem because the person paid, the way it is presented, he paid for the mitzvah, for the honor. And you are basically tricking him, saying, all the Sefer Torah, I'll say the Baracha for you. No, I'm willing to make a large donation to the synagogue for that honor, right? So some people, I discussed it in the past. Some say, the solution is to pre-sale and then tell the person to come with leather shoes, but it's not always possible. The answer is very simple. Like we read previously in the Tur and the Shulchan Aruch, wearing leather shoes, while it's forbidden, it's not a biblical prohibition, and we could be more lenient regarding that. And if a person feels, for example, discomfort, needs orthopedic shoes, or he lives in a place where the weather is cold and only leather shoes will protect him, or it could be that the person only owns leather shoes. I know it sounds strange today, right? But imagine, let's say, in a place that was devastated by the hurricane, right? That a person has only one pair of leather shoes left in his closet, and he cannot afford or doesn't have the opportunity to buy. What is he going to do in Kippur? Walk barefoot? No, he could wear leather shoes. So that could be combined as a reason to let that person hold the Sefer Torah. And what is the nusach Kol Nidre? Dinedarna v'dishtavarna v'deharimna mima kippurim sha'avar ad yom kippurim hazeh. That was the original text of Kol Nidre, much shorter than what we say today. That all the vows and prohibitions that we took upon ourselves since the previous Yom Kippur until this Yom Kippur will be nullified. שמכוונים להתיר הנדרים והחרמות והשבועות אולי עברו עליהם וכדי להינצל מהעונש, they want to save themselves from punishment. והוגשה לרבנו תם, מה מועיל להתיר על מה שעברו כבר? רבנו תם, one of the authors of the Safot, had a problem with that. He says, you already did that. If you've already transgressed the vow, what does it help that you say now it will be nullified? That the act is already done, right? Let's say someone took upon himself a vow of, for example, not drinking wine on a Sunday or on a Monday, right? And he drank wine on that day that he said he's not going to drink wine. His transgression, personal transgression, it's not a biblical. If he would not put himself there, it wouldn't be a transgression. He created a trap for himself, which is not recommended. But now it's done already. So for that reason, Rabbeinu Tam said that it doesn't help for what you said before. From this Yom Kippur until the next Yom Kippur. Now you realize that the prayer that we say today is redundant, because every Kippur we say we nullify the vows that we made last year, and we're nullifying the vows that are going to be till next year. So technically, you could do it only every 4 years. You cover 2 years, and you skip 2 years, and then you do, or something like that. So, but the Bet Yosef, Rabbi Yosef Karo, says, "Divrei Rabbeinu b'chan k'tzarim ustumim meod." Says this is the whole discussion makes no sense. It's very complicated. If you really consider Kol Nidre to be an official nullification of vows, it has many problems. First, you need 3 judges to sit there like we do in the other Hatarat Nedarim when 3 people sit there. If it's one person, the one person who does the Hatara needs to be what is called mumhe, an expert who was ordained by another rabbi. To do Hatarat Nedarim, and that applies also to all the Hatarat Nedarim that we do. As excited as we get over it, and we sit all together and we recite it, and the people responding say, "Kibalu mesirat hamoda'ah," we accepted your your statement, and they say mutarim lachem, right? All are annulled, all are permitted, etc. Right? It doesn't help. Why? To do atarat nedarim, you have to remember what your vow was, and you have to present an argument why you cannot keep the neder. And this argument should be in the form of, had I known that I will be in this situation, I would have never done it. So let's take the example of a person who says he will never drink wine on a Monday, right? And now he's called to officiate at a wedding on a Monday, and they insist on him drinking the wine of the kiddush, even though he doesn't have to. Now he can't. He does not want to let go of officiating that wedding, and he comes to so he has to come to the rabbi or to the court and say, "Had I known that because of my vow I will be put in this predicament of not being able to officiate the wedding, I would not have taken the vow to begin with, and then it's retroactively nullified." So all the nedarim, if someone comes, I decided to go to make sure that every day after Mincha Arvit I stayed to learn 15 minutes, right? So okay, so let's say he made it as a vow, as a neder. He comes to the synagogue, does atarat nedarim, it doesn't work. He has to specify what new condition has emerged that he did not anticipate that will cause him to nullify that. And as I mentioned also here when we do the atara, it doesn't work for nedarim which are commitments for the synagogue. For example, someone says, or for donation, charity, I'm going to give that much money to charity. You can't come on Kippur and say, I'm nullifying that, goodbye, it's gone. It doesn't work. If someone has a debt that he has to pay back, again, it doesn't work.
It's hard to remember for somebody who makes a lot of personal, say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And you know what I'm saying, and then you forget.
So to that, already in the Tanakh, Kohelet says, Tov shelo tidor, mishetidor velo teshalem. It's better not to make a vow than to make one and not keeping up with it. Lama titen et picha, lahati et besarecha. Says, don't let your mouth cause your body to sin. Because if you wouldn't say anything, it wouldn't be a sin. Keep it in mind when you can do it. Or as Hachamim say later on, emor me'at, v'aser be, say little and do a lot.
What's the sin? The sin against
the sin is
God,
no.
The sin against
not
keeping a vow to
so,
yourself.
The sin is the sin of irresponsibility. That is the idea that the Torah says the moment you take a vow, you have a religious duty to keep that vow. Now the question should be why
no matter
would it be,
what the vow.
No matter what the vow, it could be the most mundane thing. Yeah. It could be I'm making a commitment to always wear a white shoes. Okay, it doesn't matter. Once you made it a vow, that's your obligation. Why is it a religious obligation? That's an interesting question, and I think, from the arguments that we have in our sources, and also from scientific point of view, that this puts a person in a certain state of mind. Either you take things upon yourself seriously, or you don't. If a person allows himself to make vows and break them, then he cultivates within himself a culture of irresponsibility. I could do whatever, right? I could say whatever I want. There's no right, no consequences, no accountability. So that's the important thing, right? And I think that also that's how I translate the Kol Nidre, that it is in itself a sin to be observant only through vows. I mean, if we need the fear, the reverence of a vow to maintain our observance, that we're not in a good place. We have to be able to do whatever we do without that, without the vow.
So just to finish this, the flip side of this, though, based on what Danny was saying, what Sammy was saying, and what you were saying in terms of Kohelet, better not to make a vow than to make one and not honor it. The way around that, many in the Haredi community or Black Hat community say bli neder,
right?
So then there's no responsibility taken there at all.
Right.
Everything they say is bli neder.
Right. The bli neder. Okay.
Can you commit to anything?
Right. So the bli neder is something that got out of hand, a little out of hand. But we have to understand that comes from a period where people used to make so many vows on everything, to the extent that could have been a reason for divorce. If someone gets married and he realizes that his wife makes vows on a regular basis, he says, I cannot live with someone who makes so many vows, and he could file for divorce. In any case, we'll get more maybe into Atar Nedarim tomorrow because it's an interesting concept. However, the Bet Yosef says that really, in terms of the validity of Atar Nedarim, it's not valid. The Geonim were trying to eliminate it. So I think today the significance of Kol Nidre is mostly symbolic. It's just a message to us to be responsible and to think of what we're saying instead of taking it as like the confession booth when you're giving a clean bill of health. It's a way to reflect on when I make a commitment, I should keep it, and I don't want to be in a situation of embarrassment of asking to nullify something that I took upon myself at a moment of levity or not totally thinking it through.